Hello everybody. Today is Monday, May 5th, 2025. My name is Luther Wilson III, real estate pro here in the Kansas City market, representing for Upside Property Services. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about one of our specialties, seller financing. All right, so I'm going to get into some of the concepts, ideas, and mindset around seller financing. All right, so for those that don't know, me and my team, my colleagues, my associates, we are operators, investors, real estate practitioners here in the Kansas City market. And what we focus on mostly is real estate investments, private equity, that sort of thing, helping investors get to it in one way or another. All right, so one of my specialties or my niches that I have been dialed in on is seller financing and creative financing. And for those who know, a lot of times when investors or property owners think of seller financing, they think of it as a way to acquire or purchase a property. Well, that is amazing. And I have talked about that in the past and probably will in the future, but where I want to focus and put emphasis on is utilizing seller financing as a way to exit or sell the property or to create revenue, okay? So you might be wondering, if you are a property owner or an investor, why would you or someone want to sell their property on a note or to offer a buyer seller financing of some type? Well, it really depends. There's a lot of benefits to it. There is some risk involved, but for those serious investors, and it really kind of depends on, you know, what your goal is, what your intention is, okay? For a lot of my clients, my background is in property management, and so a lot of single family homes that we dealt with as rentals. And so that's kind of been the thing it kind of is the thing for most investors. If it's not fix and flip or wholesale, it's buy and hold. And they're doing long-term rentals or perhaps short-term or medium-term rentals. And that's really kind of it for most investors. Well, a number of years ago, I decided to mix it up and put the word out there a lot more about seller financing, because I had seen it years ago. My parents are in the real estate space, and my father, as an investor, has been doing, creative financing type stuff for over 30 years. And so it's really just been the last, I'd say 5 to 10 years where at least it has for me, it started to take off a little bit. And I've been sharing that with more of my clients and colleagues and so forth. So that's part of the reason I want to do this video, talk about this stuff to help more people out, right? And also put the word out about what we do. And so why might one want to seller finance a single family home investment? And by the way, that's where it usually works the best, is with single family home investments, all right? So as we age and as you are doing business, different things happen in your lives and your perception starts to shift. And of course, your goals and your intentions may change over time as well. I can definitely say it's happened for me. And so why seller financing? Okay, so if you have you ever been a landlord? Let me ask you that. Have you ever owned a rental property? Okay. Have you ever managed rental properties? Okay. If you know, then you know. And I think that another reason I want to put this out there is because I have gotten quite a bit of pushback, which I think is great. It's good for us to challenge our belief systems and challenge the norms and so forth. So yeah, there's going to be pushback, and some people are concerned about the risk that seller financing entails, okay? And so for me at this point, and I think for some people that I'm close with, there is more risk involved in being a landlord or renting out your property than there is doing some type of seller financing. I'm gonna say that again. For me, at this point, and a lot of people I know, actually not a lot of people, a handful of people that I know, it is more risky, it would be more risky for us to rent that single family home out than it would be if we were to offer seller financing. However you want to do it, whether you do a lease option, you do some sort of wrap, or you do a contract for deed, however you structure it. And again, refer back to some of my past videos and I dig into all of this and then some. Capital, strategy, operations for real estate investors and real estate practitioners who are serving investors, right? And then I get into some of the pros and cons, some of the risks, some things to be mindful of, some things to be concerned about, or pitfalls to avoid when it comes to doing this sort of thing. All right, so for me, as an example, I spent 6 years as a property manager doing the leasing. Of course, you know, I've been a realtor for over a decade as well. And so there's the sales, of course, there's the leasing, and then there's the operations, working with the contractors, doing the maintenance and so forth, all tailored around real estate investments. So my perspective, and what's interesting is, like, I grew up in the industry. I mentioned my father and my mom before. Even knowing what I knew, right? Knowing what I knew. I had dabbled a little bit in 08, 09 through 2011, and I had done a couple handful of seller finance transactions. And I'd heard my father especially and my mom talk about some of the stuff that she's dealt with in the space as well for 20 years. And I still decided that I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna work with investors, I'm gonna rehab properties, right? And I'm gonna manage rentals. Knowing that seller financing, at least for me, is the GOAT, all right? But I guess I needed to learn and get some more experience. So after, even before those 6 years of property management for other investors, kind of on and off, I still needed to see and learn some things. And now there's no comparison. It would be very, very difficult for me to go back. It would have to be some extenuating circumstances and probably have to deal with the financing piece. If I'm gonna manage rentals or own traditional rentals of some sort, whether it's long-term, short-term, and medium-term, I might do it on multifamily. If I even were to consider it for single family, it would be probably because of a partnership situation or some type of situation with the debt or the financing that would more or less force me to do so. Otherwise, I see no reason. If I own a single family home as an investor, I have very little reason for me to do a long-term rental, right? Because you got to think about it, right? I want y'all to think about the process, think about the mindset. If you are aspiring to be an investor or a landlord, or you aspire to own rentals, okay? You have to understand, think about who is going to be living in that unit or living in that home, okay? A lot of times, that individual or that couple or that family, if they are going to do a lease, it might be a year long, it could be 2 years long, maybe longer, but most of the time it's going to be a year long. And what do they want to do after that? What do most Americans want to do at some point or another? Okay, you guessed it, they want to buy a home. So why not help them out? Let's get to it. So that's where the opportunity is. It's an opportunity for investors to be able to create more revenue, actual cash flow, and then it's also an opportunity to create more home ownership in our communities and so forth, all right? So, and I mentioned before, like, there's a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions when it comes to owning real estate, investing in real estate, and operating a real estate investing business, okay? And there's definitely misconceptions and misunderstandings about what it's really like to own rental properties, okay? So if you've done a couple of them, maybe a handful of them, you might have had some decent experiences up to this point, right? Maybe you lucked out, I don't know. But if you haven't dealt with some challenging tenants, I'll put it nicely, or some challenging situations with property management, you may not really know. If things are going smoothly, then if it's not broken, then you ain't got nothing to fix, right? But for a lot of investors, at some point or another, you're gonna deal with a challenging property or challenging tenant or whatever the situation is, and it's going to force you to think twice about renting that property out, okay? And when that happens, a light bulb is gonna go off in your head and you're gonna say, all right, Luther's been dropping content and game for years now. He's been trying to yell it on the top of a mountain. Now I kinda see it. Maybe I'll entertain doing seller financing. Hit me up when you're ready to make that happen, okay? And we will help you through that process, because you will see at that point, right? You're dealing with tenants and toilets, as some people put it, and there's gonna be turnover. Most of the people that are renting these properties, as I mentioned before, are gonna be more transient, and you have to understand, you know, the multifamily sounds real sexy, but when you think about having 30 people stacked on top of each other side by side, good luck with the operations and the management. That's all I'm saying, all right? Think about this stuff. Now, when you you consider that, and then you look at, okay, creating a home ownership opportunity. There's plenty of Americans and there's plenty of immigrants who will fight and kill to get over into the US of A, and they want a piece of that American dream, okay? By the way, that's most of our clients, okay? Clear the air. If you're wondering, yes, it's true. So why not create a win-win situation, okay? So when you're selling a home, it's a different process, it's a different mindset than if you are just renting a home, okay? So there's pride of ownership, okay? There's gonna be more skin in the game, okay? Depending on how you structure it, if it's an option fee up front or if it's a down payment, okay? And then they're in that home and they're probably gonna stay a little bit longer. They're probably gonna take better care of that property or that unit, however it's set up, right? And they're probably gonna stay longer. So whether it's 2 years or 12 years, somewhere in between. So not only are you getting actual cash flow, the thing, I didn't mention it earlier, one of the biggest misunderstandings and misconceptions about rental properties is cash flow. How does that really look? Not necessarily on paper or in a spreadsheet, but in reality, after you've held the thing for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, your ass is gonna get tired at some point because it's a rental. Maybe you're getting lucky. I don't know, I haven't been that lucky. Rentals that I've owned, we immediately, as soon as we could, we converted those, we got the tenants out, we converted them to some type of seller financing, and it was a huge relief. Okay, so back to the revenue. It's revenue that you're gonna generate from your rental properties or property. It's not really cash flow, okay? Maybe you get lucky for a few months, maybe for a year. If it's a newer property, if it's a brand new property, or you did a really good rehab at some point or another, okay? Especially now. It's another reason I'm piping up more about this, because 2025, all right, it's a different ballgame. We're still dealing with higher for longer. We're still dealing with inflation, the effects of it, okay? And as the economy continues to worsen, there's gonna be opportunities to do this thing. So you're gonna wanna learn, get in there, research, hit me up, find people in whatever market that you're investing in or desire to invest in, and find people who are actually doing it, not just talking about it. And it will save you countless hours and probably some headache and some heartache and some money too, okay? And get plugged in, all right? So on these rentals, do they really cash flow? Maybe. I don't believe in it, right? Seller financing, okay? Even if you're paying 6 to 8, maybe I know investors are paying 9, 10% on their underlying debt, and they are still able to actually cash flow from positive cash flow from their single family home investment with virtually no maintenance whatsoever, okay? So not only is it producing, okay, positive profitable results over time that actually last and it's more sustainable longer term, okay? But you are actually getting what most investors got into this space for. Whether you want to admit it or not, you want passive income, however that looks, right? And unfortunately, with the rentals, you're not getting it, let alone fix and flip, let alone a sales organization, unless, no. And that's why I'm going in a little bit deeper now, because this is such a unique opportunity and we're in unprecedented times and more people need to know about this stuff. It's legitimate, it's fun, it's amazing, it produces great results. And if you want to learn more about it, then holler at me. I think I don't even know if I covered everything I wanted to cover. I think I did. But yeah, I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about some of the thought process, the philosophy behind seller financing, to encourage y'all to dig into it if you haven't done it already. And then, you know, and then you can kind of refer back to some previous videos on my YouTube channel. And I get into different ways that you can structure your seller financing, because you got, again, lease option, you got wraps, you got contract for deeds, and you got subject to the existing financing, and there's some other stuff that you can do. And another piece before I go that I'm gonna drop is the tax implications, right? As investors, okay, that's a huge thing too. A lot of us long term, we wanna get in for the tax benefits. Well, you have to understand that depending on what type of seller finance transaction you do, there's gonna be tax implications for that. So you definitely want to structure and handle these a certain way. And again, you can reach out to me for more information on that, and reach out to some other people. There's lots of people all over the US who are doing this thing, baby. So get with it. That's all I got for today. Stay blessed, y'all. Peace.